improvements in our generational supply. That is one important element. And to accomplish it,
Federal government has entered its plan to fund delivery of 100 housing units to the poor in each of the nation's 774 local governments through voluntary donations from no fewer than 10% of the population. The said housing units are to be delivered under the proposed National Social Housing Fund, currently being worked out by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. In 2021, the World Bank estimated that Nigeria's housing deficit stood at 15.56 million units. In 2023, the Nigerian government put the housing deficit statistics at 28 million units with an estimated funding need of 21 trillion naira. My name is Joyce, and so many thanks for joining us on Dateline. Today we focus our lens on affordable housing crisis in Nigeria, analyzing the affordability gap in Nigeria's housing sector, exploring why a large portion of the population cannot access affordable housing, and what the government and private sector can do to address this. You would agree with me that affordable housing remains one of Nigeria's most pressing challenges. Housing stakeholders and researchers have spent countless hours pondering the realities and possibilities of creating practical, sustainable solutions. The road to affordable home ownership in Nigeria is filled with countless obstacles, such as rising construction costs, economic instability, and a lack of financial inclusion. Yet, these challenges also present unique opportunities to rethink and innovate. Thankfully, for the first time on the program, we have a guest whose thoughts will be worth hearing. Let's take a short break. Please stay with us. Moving on, before the break, I said Nigerian government has proposed 77,400 free houses for the poor in 774 local government areas. Briefing newsmen at the State House in Abuja recently, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, architect Musa Dangiwa, said the ministry had written to all stakeholders in government on how they intend to raise funds for the project. According to him, there's one option. They want to ensure that at least 10% of Nigeria's population make a voluntary contribution of 5,000 monthly for 1 year, which equals to 1.2 trillion naira. This contribution will be meant for the low-income bracket. In a statement, it reads in part, "We have provided houses in the cities under the Renewed Hope Cities. We have provided houses in the states, over 30 states, called the Renewed Hope State. We want to provide houses to the local governments. In the local government, we want to identify the most vulnerable group of 100 Nigerians in each state of the Federation. Those are the groups we want to target and give them a house, at least 2 or 3 bedroom houses, free by the federal government for them to live in." End of quote. In other words, if 10% of Nigerians, like 22 million, can contribute 5,000 monthly, that's 60,000 naira per year, the ministry will have nothing less than 1.2 trillion naira. They strongly believe this amount, 1.2 trillion naira, can build 100,000 houses. Basically, this proposed plan will produce 77,400 houses for 100 houses and 774 local governments. Likewise, the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development has taken several recent actions to address Nigeria's housing deficit, including 1. Collaborating with the National Population Commission. Also, they are currently building housing units. They have built so far 2,465 housing units nationwide and created 61,625 construction jobs. Also, they are providing loans. The FBN has provided long-term loans, home renovation loans, and rent-to-own loans to 17,980 Nigerians. Similarly, they have also developed the Renewed Hope online housing delivery portal. Now, this portal allows Nigerians to apply for housing units, track their ownership, and explore available units. It will also interest you to know that the ministry is working with Shelter Afrique, who is working alongside the ministry to provide advisory services to help the ministry develop a public-private partnership model for affordable housing. Also, they are reviewing land reforms. The Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development is reviewing a report from a land reforms committee to establish a national land commission. Also, they are working on slum upgrades and urban renewal. It will interest you to also know that they have been doing some slum upgrades and urban renewal in 4 states in each zone of the country. Now, I want to say that as Nigeria, many other countries have tried to solve the housing issue, both in developing and Western countries. The different strategies used to reach the goal can be basically grouped into 3 categories. 1. The clearance of all slums and the rehousing of their residents in new standard and sanitary housing. 2. Public housing construction of low-cost dwelling units for lower income groups. And thirdly, government subsidy or rent control. Now, some countries have applied one of the above or a mixture of them depending on the situation. Now, that said, let's take a break. After my break, you'll meet my guests, Dr. Audu Simon Shadalafiya, who is a former Public Relations Officer of the FCDA Staff Multipurpose Co-operative Society and current Chairman, Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals, FCT Administration. So you'll join my guests after this break. Do stay with us.
When the city is getting too loud, you need a home. Home is love, peace, and tranquility. Home is Housing TV Africa. Housing TV Africa, your first in housing news.
Welcome again. This is Dateline, and we're looking at affordable housing crisis in Nigeria, analyzing the affordability gap in Nigeria's housing sector. And taking us further is my guest, Dr. Audu Simon Shadalafiya, a former PRO, FCDA Staff Multipurpose Cooperative Society, and current Chairman, Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals, FCT Administration. Thank you, Dr. Simon, for coming. Okay, tell me about your days in the FCDA.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joy, for having me here. FCDA Staff Multipurpose Cooperative Society is one of the largest cooperative society in Abuja. Let me put Abuja to be precise. Then our staff strength is over 40,000. And unfortunately, we're talking about affordable housing. Good and fine. We have a lot of houses. Not that we don't have houses. Nigeria have a lot of houses. In FCT, we have a lot of houses. But affordable houses is what we are talking about. FCDA Staff Multipurpose Cooperative have tried its best to make sure that, yes, we acquired some houses build affordable ones for our members, but it couldn't work. Why? Because the process of acquiring the land, the process of infrastructures, materials, the cost of materials, and the developers are the key factors, and they are the predisposing factors of all these causes of affordable housing. You agree with me that it will be difficult. The government are trying, but at this current situation, it will be difficult. The competition is so high. The population is increasing every time. Everybody wants to move to the urban areas. And to compound the whole situation, the insecurity. Before, you go to your village, you sleep very well. In fact, you would even like to raise a duplex in your village. You don't need to pass through some processes of acquiring the land, getting the papers, your CFO and every other things. No. But nowadays, everybody wants to live in Abuja. Why? Because no community is safe in this country.
Are you now saying Abuja is the only safe place in Nigeria? I would not really want to agree with you on that. Now, let's go to my first question. When is housing truly affordable?
It depends with the type of housing. Because if you are talking about the affordability, the quality of the housing also matters, and the materials. Because if you can build a mud house, good and fine, it's affordable. Somebody can live. You use 1 million naira to build that house, and somebody can stay. Unfortunately, most of all these natural materials that others, if you go to some developed countries, they use those laterite, they modify it, and build houses in such a way that they don't even use cement on that one. But nowadays, Nigeria is still left behind because despite the natural resources that we are having, we are still interested in using modern technology to develop those housing. Agreed, federal government is doing well. The Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development are trying. Our Renew Hope agenda in terms of housing needs, the governments are really, really trying. But at the end of the day, will we actually reach to that common man that the federal government have stated?
Now, you just mentioned the common man. Now, let me take your reactions. I read something earlier about FG's plan to build 77,400 housing units in the 774 local government areas we have in Nigeria. What's your take on that?
It's a very good development. Like I just said, yes, who is the common man? 77,400, right? Mm-hmm. Housing units across the 774 local governments. Good and fine. I have my local government. Good and fine. We'll also watch and see. Then, in the 774 local governments, we have 774 local government chairmen. And under the local government, you have councillors. My sister, at least we're here. One day we'll still come back to sit and see whether those houses have reached to those common people. Because the local government chairman would like to say, yes, these are the 100 housing units. Who are my loyalists? Allocate 1 or 2 to various councillors. Councillors will also look at. So who are the common men?
But maybe the federal government also has a plan to, gather such data so that, we won't have, that process also open to corruption and nepotism and the like.
And that's a good one. And that is why we're talking right now. So that let it be that, yes, we have voiced out our voices, that, yes, it's actually a very good initiative. But let's see how those houses can reach to a common man through the monitoring. Federal government, of course, if they want to monitor it and do the real research to pick, but before they can even pick or do every other things, of course, the local government must be involved, their chairman, the councillors must also be involved, and before you know, they'll say party chairman, they'll say party what, and the rest. So if we are talking about the real challenges that Nigerians are facing these days, we should leave about who is my party loyalist, who is this, because everything. In fact, there's an adage in Hausa that they say, Suma gia akanyanya piade yaro piade baba. You might not really know the meaning, but the meaning, it shows that just like hunger, that hunger, everybody is hungry. Yes, a hunger doesn't differentiate who is who. No. So it's just like cane on the road like this. If a big man is passing, that cane will float. If a small man is passing, if a poor person, it's just like that. So it's only when federal government, they have good initiatives. That's the truth about it. But affordable housing. Then before, in this state, we used to have what we call locus, Shagari locus.
Locus housing.
Locus housing everywhere.
I think the term has changed to social housing now.
Okay, so that's a good one. Yes. Now let's see whether we can have something similar to that of locus housing. Then.
Okay, now you mentioned something about the federal government having all of these good initiatives. Now, I'd like to ask, do you think these new programs are showing the opportunity, showing the opportunity that lies in providing reliable and not-for-profit financing for the poorest population who spend most of their income on improving their living condition? Do you think the Renewed Hope, for instance, initiative, the loans that the Federal Mortgage Bank would sometimes reel out and all of those programs, do you think they actually provide the opportunity needed to tackle this housing crisis we have in Nigeria?
Yes, they are good initiatives. Federal Mortgage Bank, the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, and other key holder sectors in the housing sectors, they're all professionals. Just like me, I have my own area of specialization as a professional. So every year we do our annual scientific conference. We discuss about how we can improve this. You understand? Go into research. Yes, all the initiatives are very fine, very okay. But the processes of acquiring it matters a lot. The procedures, if federal government cannot make the procedures so tedious, yes, we can achieve it. Monitoring also matters a lot. Then the funding. If you allow, yes, despite the fact that, okay, PPP, in private sectors, of course, everything is about profit. So if you now involve private sector, maybe to play like, to release like 60% of the funding or 70%, of course, they want to make their profit. So, the affordable houses that we are talking, are we looking at a house, a 1-bedroom flat or 2-bedroom flat, at how much? If it is 5 million naira, 2-bedroom flat, 5 million naira, is it affordable? So what are the price range, the cost implication, and proper monitoring, implementation, and who are the beneficiaries?
For a country of nearly 200 million, I don't know if we've exceeded that population now.
Sure.
For a country nearly 200 million people. Now, should this call for a stronger partnership between the public and private sectors? But you'll answer that after this break. Let's go on a short break. We'll be back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying put. This is Dateline, and we've been looking at the affordable housing crisis in Nigeria. Doing justice to that has been with me, Dr. Simon Audu. Thank you so much, Dr. Simon. Before we went on the break, we were looking at the demand and supply, marrying both. How many housing units are built yearly in Nigeria, going by the number of population we have, and then the demand. So I'd like you to answer that. There's a report, a 2023 report that states that 60,000 units per year is the production of, the housing, the number of houses built per year. Now, do you think that this is enough? Because already it sounds that there's already a notion of inadequacy going by the number of population that we have, nearly 200 million people, and then you have this number of housing units.
Anyway, thank you. Let me try better. That sounds scientific. I'm not into research on such, but I know maybe, or based on that research, it might be true. But if you are talking of building houses, there are a lot of houses. There are a lot of houses. Thousands of houses are being built. But who are occupied? Who are the people that are occupying those houses? If you come within the FCT, you see a lot of estate, nobody. So we're talking about the affordable housing that we're talking about, or we're talking about houses being built per year. I may not have much idea on it. But what I always feel that the issue of housing crisis, affordable housing crisis, is like a disease. It's like an epidemic that needs urgent intervention, both from the government and from the private sectors. In the health sector, when there's an outbreak, or if there's any other things like that, you will discover that you have a lot of companies that will send drugs, send money, donate money, do this one. But why is it that once it comes to housing issues, anything that have to do with this, you don't have people that will just come out and say, okay, I'm building 1,000 units houses and I'm going to give it out to people. For those, just go to the community, sample people and give them.
So you think that's what the government should do?
Yes, I'm talking about the private sector.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
In health, I told you that we see a lot of NGOs, international donors, coming to donate funds, both money and drugs as an intervention for that. In housing sector, I've never had, I don't know whether we have those that just came and said, okay, we are ready to build houses for free and give it to the vulnerable, free of charge. It may be it's possible, but it's also, if they are doing, we need more improvement on that.
Sometimes they say one of the ways they try to tackle that is through mortgage. Now, I want to find out, when you were PRO, FCDA, Multipurpose Cooperative Association, how was it assessing mortgage? Was it a Herculean task, or how accessible was mortgage financing to your members?
That's a good one. Honestly speaking, it's not an easy task. You know, you cannot access the fund directly from Federal Mortgage Bank. You must pass through your PMI.
What's PMI?
That's Primary Mortgage Institute.
Okay.
So we made that attempt, but the conditions, you know, sample members that are interested, this equity, this, fill a lot of forms, do this. But at the end of the day, that couldn't work. Why? Because before they will even bring the money first, you have to fulfill. There are a lot of things. I honestly speak, I am actually the PRO, and I knew what we must have passed. To an extent that the estate we built in the Cuba, we just sold it directly to our members. That time, we just sold it to our members. And we wanted to pass through Federal Mortgage, through our PMI, that's the Primary Mortgage Institute. But there are a lot of conditions. They will come. Even in your office, of course, you see some marketers will come and say, yes, take these flyers, you can afford this, through mortgage this, fill the form, and they will help you to process everything. But at the end of the day, if you look at the attached conditions that they will give you, then another thing, the cost. They will say, okay, they're giving you 3-bedroom flat at 25 million or 40 million. Then they will charge you. It's okay, they will be deducting also a monthly from your salary for a period of 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. Then if you now looked at the 25 million, Is it not better for you to go and borrow 5 million naira and build the local house that you feel that you can just enter, shelter yourself first? Because this one is another way of, just let me not say imprison the civil servants, but there are a lot of things.
Okay, so let's talk solutions finally.
Okay.
You know, yes, we know there's an affordable housing crisis in Nigeria currently, like in some parts of the world as well. Now, let's analyze solutions. What do you think are some of the practicable solutions, you know, that the government should actually consider now? Thankfully, the proposed plan to build in the local government areas, you know, that will be, it's actually a fund. Nigerians are supposed to donate into that fund voluntarily, 5,000 every month, 60,000 per year. I know I'll do mine so that at least somebody in Arochuku, where I come from, will probably get a 2 or 3 bedroom flat. Now let's go to solutions, Dr. Simon. Based on your experience, you've dealt with people, you've had this mortgage financing issues when you were PRO with your cooperative. What do you think are the solutions? You mentioned something about the Land Use Act, you know, when we're off camera. Let's talk solutions now. What are the practicable solutions?
The Land Use Act, the 1978 Land Use Act, that vested the power of lands to government, governors. Then before, you can acquire a land through the community chief, build. Yes, agreed. It has actually improved the economy of the country because it's another source of revenue generation. Yes, but we're generating money. Yes, but apart aside that, it now makes everything costlier because maybe for you to acquire the land in Abuja in a juicy place, now that you see an area, this is Asokoro. Asokoro is filled up. Kobi and Kurunduma is another district. But they will still go and turn it as Asokoro extension. There's Asokoro extension. There's Asokoro 2. All this. See Maitama. After Maitama, then there's Pape.
So yes,
but instead of that place to be called Pape, so that the land will be affordable, they now make it as Maitama 2. There's Maitama Alero. So what happened to those villages? Maitama, the location of Maitama is different. The location of Asokoro is different. But they will keep on using the urban areas, well-developed areas to name it so that the title of those documents will be much higher, so that even if you are buying, it will be more costlier. So the Land Use Act has come to stay. It's another source of revenue generation. But another thing that we'll still have to look at is that the cost of materials is on the high side. We have all those raw materials in Nigeria.
Local content.
Yes, if we can use our local content, at least it will reduce the cost of housing everywhere in the country.
Okay.
But all this importation from China, from UK, from every other place, good. Then the issue of mortgage, Federal Mortgage Bank, through PMI, if there's any way the federal government can still assist to say, see, if you are a social person, because the issue of housing is not only applicable to civil servants, every other person need house. So, but they should make sure that they step down some of the procedures to make it more accessible to the common man.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Simon, for your time on Dateline. We hope we've been able to do some justice to this age-long problem. Trust me, affordable housing crisis is everywhere in the world. And today we've been looking at that particular issue in our own country, Nigeria. We've been looking at the topic, affordable housing crisis in Nigeria, analyzing the affordability gap in Nigeria's housing sector. You would agree with me that having access to quality, affordable housing is fundamental to reduce poverty, improve equal opportunities, and guarantee a sustainable growth. For this reason, it became the objective of the UN Sustainable Development Goals SDG number 11. The aim by 2030 is to put housing at the center of specific policies to reduce drastically the quantity of people living in conditions below the minimum standards. With the renewed hope initiative by the Tinubu-led administration, we trust that in the nearest future, housing truly will be available, accessible, and affordable. Thanks for watching. I'm Joyce Nwosu.
Housing TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.